Hello everybody, welcome to the I Am IT Geek YouTube channel. My name is Shabazz Dan. As ever, I am the IT Geek. Thank you for the ongoing support with this book review series. The feedback's been really good. This is now episode 3. So this is so far we've obviously done the introduction video. I reviewed Dwayne Natwick's SC 300 Identity and Access Management study guide. Last episode, which is episode 2, we did the Mastering Endpoint Manager by Per and Christian. Again, I hope everybody enjoyed that. This week, we are reviewing the Mastering Azure Virtual Desktop book by Ryan Mangan, good friend of mine. So mine and Ryan's book, so I had an Azure Virtual Desktop exam study guide come out pretty much the week before or the week after, or the same day possibly as Ryan. So it was quite a good one. Mine was a different publisher. This is obviously Packt. And I think most of the books I'm reviewing are Packt. There might be the odd one that's not, but at the moment they're all Packt. And so Ryan's is very, very different to mine, although it does cover the exam as well. It's in the name, Mastering. This is again another in-depth book. Before I do that, again, just give a big shout out to the Don't Accept the Defaults t-shirt by Abel Wang. Something that, again, I said in the last episode, Abel Wang was somebody who worked for Microsoft in sort of the DevOps community. I think he was a Microsoft advocate. I never got the opportunity to meet the chap. He sounded like an amazing person. So that's unfortunate for me that I never got to meet him. April Edwards has kept his legacy going on by kind of selling these t-shirts for charity, for the Girls Who Code charity. All the information is in the description of the video. Please do support that. Give April a follow. I'll put her details in the description as well. So big shout out to Girls Who Code. Now let's get into the actual the book review now. So here we are back in the sort of Packt subscription portal that I've got, and as I mentioned in all my other videos, I'm reviewing it from the ebooks. So again, in some cases I may have the hard copy. I will obviously show that, but I'm doing all the ebooks. It's just easier for me to share that information with yourselves. So again, if we look, it's very, very simple. Again, it's called Mastering, which is, you'd expect it to be in depth, and this just does not disappoint in that area. Chapter wise, it's huge. It's almost 30 chapters, and again, it's got a lot of similarities with the Endpoint Manager book from Christian and Per in the sort of way it's set out, and I'll explain that in a minute. But it's also got some things that are a bit different as well, and in my opinion, they help help make this book what it is. It's another good read and very, very detailed, very granular. So again, the same way the sort of mastering books, again, it's Packt. It's the same publisher, so you'd expect it to be like that. You'd expect them all to have a kind of similar feel to them. So again, it's broken down into sections. This one has one, 2, 3, 4, 5, section 5, section 6. So this has 2 more sections than I think. Yeah, so this has 2 more sections than the last book, Endpoint Management, we saw. But a bit different. I'll get into this at a moment. It has the sort of final assessment, which is something I kind of mentioned in the Endpoint. I felt the Endpoint Management book was missing. And again, it has a bit of an appendix of resources and that you can learn. Again, similar to the Endpoint Management. But let's get into this sort of the contents of this book. So again, it breaks it down what the chapters are all about. And this one solely focuses on Azure Virtual Desktop. Okay, so service is very close to my heart. So I'm not going to lie, I did enjoy this book quite a bit. Just for that sole reason, it's my favourite topic. So again, it starts. So it's very much that sort of zero to hero feel about this book. That it starts you off right at the beginning, introduces what Azure Virtual Desktop is. Ryan's not making any assumptions that everyone who reads this book is going to be like, already understand what AVD is. He's making it so it fits the whole sort of criteria of, even if you're starting out on AVD and you want to get to understand what it is and learn it from like zero all the way to the advanced, installation of it, configuration, deployment, the sort of hero, sort of zero to hero section of it. So again, he's done that. He's done a great job, and it's the same sort of thing with that I saw in the Endpoint Manager one, where very introductory chapters, you're planning. I guess this one, it feels very much like the exam book, if I'm honest with you, the way they broke it up, where they were doing planning, designing, implementing, and he follows that same theme, and I think that's very, very clever, because with a service like Azure Virtual Desktop, that's pretty much how your mindset goes when you are wanting to implement this. You start off by planning the architecture. You then go on to actually designing the architecture. So you've planned all the the identity, the infrastructure as a service, the security. So you know it's going to be. Now you need to design it. How's it all going to fit together? Once you've designed it, there's not just the architecture, but there's again all the profiles and the storage. So it's got a bit on that, and it moves on to actually implementing it. So this is where we'll start getting into the lab. So this is chapter 4, and this is where we'll start getting into sort of lab exercises. As we can see here, goes through again. It's not Azure Virtual Desktop is a service, a small feature and service. With AVD in the sort of the whole infrastructure, it deals with networking, identity, storage. So again, Ryan doesn't make any assumptions that you already know how to do an Azure Virtual Network. He shows you how to implement that. So again, very, very sort of hero to zero to hero feel, not hero to zero. I always made that mistake. Zero to hero feel, where he's not making assumptions that you know how to do this. He's actually talking you through how to do the networking and all that side of it as well. So again, goes through NSGs and network virtual appliance. Very, very thorough. And again, for a book that's mastering or claiming it's mastering a service, in this case Azure Virtual Desktop, I would expect it to be like that. And this is like that. Very, very detailed. Again, goes through. If you look on the left hand side here, networking, sort of how to manage that connectivity between the internet and on premises. So your VPNs, implementing and managing network security. Security is such an important part of AVD and any sort of service, and Ryan covers that in this book. He does not disappoint. And then if we go towards the end of that chapter, we've got the questions and answers, and this is something I'm going to touch on in a bit of detail now, because as well as the sort of onto a question, as well as a couple of questions at the end, what I felt was missing from the Endpoint Manager mastering one was the big sort of chapter at the end with a final assessment to give you an overview of everything, not just that chapter. If we click on that, which is labeled as 27, chapter 27, 53 questions. So it's even though this isn't an exam study guide, it's still giving you 50 odd questions based on the entire book. Well, actually, it says up here, it says, welcome to the study guide assessment. The test questions are designed to resemble real-world AZ-140. So this is I am corrected. This actually is based on the AZ-140 exam. So when I said before, right at the start, that this book it's called Mastering, but it does cover the AZ-140. This is one of those areas it does. Again, 50 odd questions they don't just test your knowledge on what you've read, but your general knowledge on AVD, what you've learned, the lab stuff that you've done, the theory. So this is one thing I felt that was missing from the Endpoint Manager book. So big shout out to Ryan for covering that. Again, someone I did very similar in one of my books, the SC400 book I did with Packt, and it is a little time consuming getting those questions. 50 questions is a lot of questions to do. So yeah, definitely a good to have in a book, I feel. If we go back to going back to the contents again, again it's broken down very well, and just click on what I've noticed Ryan do is mixing a lot of tables with his content, and as well as the sort of screenshots, and I noticed some of that in the Endpoint Manager book. I mean, I'm not comparing them both. But they are both sort of mastering books, so that's why I keep on referring to that book. And again, I didn't do too many tables in mine, but I understand where the licensing information here is put in a table, and I've seen that throughout this book. There's a lot of sort of tables and PowerShell screenshots of the portal, and again with AVD. there are two ways to deploy. You can either do it through the portal or through PowerShell. And I think, again, this book really does cover both those areas well. And to master AVD, you need to know both. So again, massive shout out to Ryan for covering that PowerShell bit. And as you go down, you'll see again a mixture of good tables, mixture of theory, and again as we go down the chapters, implementing, for example, this is where we actually get onto the lab work. So again, very thorough. We're looking at creating host pools here. If we go a bit further down, this is through like the portal is showing here. And again, showing some imagery and explaining what the different load balancing methods are, which I think is, again, really important. Screenshot, step-by-step, granular guide, very detailed. There's some of the labs I tried them and, spot on, very detailed, and going through all the different options, just trying to get to see if there is, so here, again, automating the creation of host pools, going through that PowerShell element, and this is very key to mastering AVD. You need to know both ways. You can't just do it through the portal and expect to understand, to be able to master this topic. So that's one of the reasons why this book is so in depth and so big. Ryan does joke about the size of this book. It's quite a hefty book. I'm glad I've got the ebook version of it, Ryan, if I'm honest. But the reason is because it's just covering the portal and PowerShell. So yeah, massive shout out to Ryan again. Covers every detail with the PowerShell commands. Very easy to follow labs. And again, going further down, goes into managing, implementing, configuring still. MSIX app attach. I know with Ryan, Ryan's very close to MSIX app attach. Something I've not done too much of, if I'm honest with you. So this is one of the chapters where I did actually learn quite a bit. So again, it goes into explaining a lot about what it is and how to implement it. But then if we go further down, it goes into sort of monitoring and managing. What it possibly does cover in certain areas, but if you look at the way, again, I'm covering to the Endpoint Manager one because they're both mastering books. This one goes into more sort of design, planning, designing, implementing. What I've not noticed is any of the sort of troubleshooting stuff. Now in the Endpoint Manager book, it dedicated 3 chapters to troubleshooting. I liked that, if I'm honest with you. And this is one thing, maybe, again, it's a great book, don't get me wrong. But that's maybe something that, again, I don't know how big a book Ryan could have done, to be honest, because there's so much detail on this. But that's maybe one aspect where there could have been a chapter maybe around troubleshooting. Again, unless I've missed it, which I don't think I have, there's nothing that I can see labelled around troubleshooting. There's certain elements in it, I think, maybe, but certain areas, but it's mainly planning, design, implementing, which is what AVD is. But I would have liked to have seen maybe a troubleshooting book. There's obviously, what he does here does an area on further reading, and gives you some links to the various Microsoft documents, which I think is very good. And there's a little bit here where I think, so this is the resources bit. And I think Ryan goes through, this is the Azure Virtual Desktop community shout out. So I actually got a shout out on this, which I was really chuffed about, and I'm so thankful to Ryan for doing it. And there I am, and there's my blog. So again, some huge names in the AVD community: Christian, Friel, Neil, McLaughlin, Baz, Patrick, Holler, great person, Stefan, Sander, Niels, Travis, Roberts, Ryan himself. Got to give yourself a shout out on you, Ryan, 100%. Johan, Esther, she's amazing. Donna Ryan, another amazing AVD resource. Tom Inkling, Jim Moyle. Every person on this is pretty huge, if I'm honest with you. So again, I just love the fact they've done that. It's one regret from my own book that we didn't do anything like that. But that's a lesson learned for me. But yeah, again, I can't sing this book's praises enough. Really, the only thing I feel is mentioning is possibly the troubleshooting sort of chapter that could have maybe just give it that final sort of bit. But it's got the sort of final assessment, which I felt was missing in the Endpoint Manager one. But again, massive kudos to Ryan. Really did enjoy reading it. This one I spent a bit more time on because again it was AVD. I've been reading this one for a while, but really did enjoy it, and I think again fully recommend it. I'll put the link to the Amazon page in my description so you can buy it yourselves. Definitely recommend it. Ryan really does know his stuff around well, not just around Azure Virtual Desktop, but around Microsoft in general. Give it a buy. Again, leave me a comment if you've read it and you feel anything different. Please do leave me a comment, or you reach out to me on my Twitter at Shabazdar. Appreciate everybody's support. Please do keep supporting me. You know, if you're not subscribed, why? Please subscribe and keep on commenting and liking my videos. But that's it for me. Next week or the next episode, should I say, is going to be the SC 900 book from Dwayne Natwick, and then I've got again a few more books in, and after that book, there's going to be a couple of books that aren't in my area. So not in my area, but there's going to be Nate Chamberlain and I can't remember the last other person's name. This is a book on MS 700 exam, the Teams exam, which I'm going to cover. But again, very much out of my comfort zone, and you know that topic. But again, I think that's the perfect reason to cover it in a review. There's 2 or 3 more books that are going to be outside of my sort of skill set that I'm going to be reading and or that I have read, and that I'll be doing some reviews on. So thank you very much for watching. Up until next time, thank you and goodbye.